So there are the issues. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Morning.
Can you mute us for a minute? We finish.
Sound.
No? Good morning, Professor Brown.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. Is it evening over there or morning?
I'm just trying to wake up right now. It's 3 a.m.
So it is morning.
Maybe the sunshine coming through your window will wake me up a little bit.
Most welcome to Africa.
Yes,
Now,
thank you for inviting me.
Okay, Professor Brown, before you is a team of students. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Then we will go to your presentation for 30 minutes. And then after your presentation, we will have a question and answer sessions for the next 30 minutes. We expect to take 1 hour in this session so that we can rotate and you go to another station. Can you hear us clearly?
Fine. Yeah, everything's
Okay.
fine. Yeah. Okay, so how about we have, you know me, I'm Dr. Brown. I'm very pleased to see you all here, and I will be happy if you go around the table and introduce yourselves to me, please.
Okay, we'll begin over there. They will say their name and the school that they are coming from.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Brown? My name is Hongai. I'm from the School of Science.
Hello, good morning. My name is Anthony. I'm from School of Science.
Very good.
Hello, my name is Lydia.
Speak louder.
Hello, my name is Lydia and I'm from School of Science.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Kalpa, School of Science.
Mosaic School of Science.
Very
Hello,
good.
my name is Grace from School of Science.
Grace.
Yeah, Kevin, School of Science as well.
Hi, my name is Pratik. I'm from School of Science also.
Hi, my name is Polarian, School of Science.
Hi, my name is Max. I'm from School of Science.
Hello, my name is Adiala. I'm from the School of Business.
Hello, my name is Ankit. I'm from School of Science.
Hi, Dr. Brown. My name is David. I'm from the School of Humanities.
Okay.
And I'm Paul from the School of Science.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Michael from the School of Science.
Hi, I'm Solomon, School of Science.
Okay.
Okay, then straight to the point, I would like to let you know that the students have not read your CV. They don't know anything about you. I presuppose that you were asked to present on the topic, what makes you the best fit for USIU as the Dean of School of Science and Technology. You will have your 30 minutes, and then thereafter there will be a question and answer session.
Okay. So I don't know how we do this PowerPoint. Do I show it and then you can see it? I don't really understand how we project this.
No, you don't have. You don't have to project it, so long as you can refer to it and you are able to articulate yourself, unless there is something that you wanted to show graphically.
So I won't be showing these PowerPoint figures. I'll just be using this as a guide. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Let's
On your screen, there's an option to share it.
That's what I need. Share screen. Okay.
Yes, share your screen, yeah.
Sharing.
Yes.
I have not used this Blue Jeans before, so this is something new for me, but I think we'll be okay.
Yes, now we can see your screen. Now all you got to do is open your PowerPoint.
Okay, and I am opening this now, and
yes,
okay.
Now you can view
it. You can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your PowerPoint.
Okay, then I will start. We can start our half-hour discussion, and very good. So I begin with a picture from Bangladesh, and if you haven't been able to examine my CV yet, you may not know, but I spent the last year in Bangladesh working on providing food for very hungry people. And I am also interested in that sort of activity in East Africa. So there's a connection there. And what I'm going to do then is explain my background, my experience, my orientation to science. And I notice most of you are science people, not everyone, but I do a kind of scientific research that's a blend of basic and applied work. In recent years, it's become very applied, and applied to nutrition especially. So, okay, this figure summarizes my professional background, and the bulleted points are a list of 4 professional appointments that I've had. At the top, I mentioned that I have a fisheries and biology background. My PhD is in physiology, biology, and it's physiology of fishes. I have published regularly. I'm approaching 100 publications. Soon I'll be at that point. And recently, these publications have moved into economic development in developing countries. So that, to me, is a very natural fit with East Africa. My positions that I've had have been aquaculture coordinator. That was a full professor in Hawaii. That was a position where I developed the industry, and I was also an advisor for many graduate students and postdoctoral students. And I designed a marine laboratory that was built there. And this is something I've done a couple of times now. I've designed laboratories that have been constructed. Then I moved to southeastern United States. I was the marine science director at Florida International University. I initiated that program. There was no marine program. They hired me to build that program. And I built that very well, and it grew quickly, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But that got me into contact with lots and lots of students and a lot of experience with having a vision for a program and integrating. I think this is an important point that's also very relevant to your university. I integrated science with humanities, with journalism, English, geology, lots of different disciplines integrated very comfortably with the marine sciences, and I learned to do a lot of collaborative work with other departments. Then I went to, you see the third bullet, that's the United States government position that I had for 8 years, the division chief of the U.S. government's aquaculture division. I built that up, increased productivity, increased funding, upgraded the facilities, and got that program approved as a national center of excellence at one point. Then finally, the last position that I've had was science director for World Fish. You may or may not know World Fish. That's an NGO or a non-government organization, a nonprofit that uses fish culture and aquaculture as a way to offset poverty and malnutrition. And that's what I was doing in Bangladesh. And it's a very effective way to correct nutritional deficiencies. Fish grow efficiently. They're quite nutritious, very cheap to produce, and so for developing country, and Kenya is a good example, there's a great incentive to increase fish production, and I'll talk about that some more in a minute. But let me move forward because our time is very limited. This is a slide of what I got off online presents from your university, and this shows School of Science and Technology and some of the activities within that school. And also I noticed with some interest this center, SUDIC, which is a Center for Development Projects, and I think that would be an excellent fit for me as well, because that's what I've been doing. And when I close this half-hour discussion, I'll give you a kind of a short outline of the sort of team that I have in mind for development projects in East Africa. So this would also need to have a connection with human nutrition, which I think makes it interdisciplinary and would involve multiple schools at USIU to have human nutrition, economics, social sciences, all coordinated in a development project, or many projects actually. So this figure I made that shows a couple of extremes in what's happening in world fisheries. Probably you know this already, but this is a nice way to visualize the fact that capture fisheries and dependence on wild fish in the ocean has become a real disaster. The ocean yields are declining. This is one case, Atlantic cod, that used to be extremely popular in northeastern U.S., and it's been down to zero for the last couple of decades because it was overfished and managed very poorly, and environmental degradation. The second part of this figure is showing what kinds of things are happening in aquaculture. This is the growth of the oyster industry. So it's inverse to what's happening with wild captured fisheries. Now, can you hear me okay? Because there was some disturbance in the sound there. Are you able to hear me all right?
We can hear you very well.
Okay, good. I'll continue. This is a picture from an agricultural college in the Philippines, and I worked there a total of 15 years. And this is my aquaculture team in the Philippines, and I had U.S. Agency for International Development support continuously for 15 years, working in the Philippines. And that's another agency that I would like to continue to work with. U.S. Agency for International Development is, of course, very interested in all developing countries, and it's interested in providing fish culture technology to countries that are in need of that. So that's an agency I have worked with and will continue to work with. I had 11 years in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii. This is a facility that I managed there that was an international training center. So at this center, we grew freshwater, marine, and brackish fishes and crustaceans. Lots of different things were possible there. And we would bring in teams of 10 or 20 people, often from Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, different places would come to get training on how to do aquaculture most effectively. And I managed that for a couple of years. While I was in Hawaii, I produced a design for a new laboratory. And the original design drawing is on the top, and the finished laboratory is on the bottom. This was a good laboratory that was built with a private donation. So some very wealthy old guy decided he wanted to do something for University of Hawaii, and he wrote a check to build this laboratory that I had designed. And that was an interesting experience. Then when I moved to Florida, this graph shows you enrollments, or how many marine biology majors there were in my program. So one of the important points about this that I think is relevant to your university is this was a curriculum that I designed, and it was extremely popular with the students. This was the marine biology major curriculum. And by the time I left, there were about 135 registered marine biology majors. And that, I think that's because it was a challenging curriculum and a strong one, and a very, very low cost of tuition. This is a public university, and it's located just a few miles away from the University of Miami, which is a distinguished private university, very expensive. And so my goal was always to offer an equally good marine biology degree at about 1/10 of the cost. And that's why it grew so fast. And because of these rapidly growing enrollments, and by the way, I'll point out, most of those students are Hispanic students, or students from Cuba, Dominican Republic, South America. So those were minority students. And because it was so popular with minority students in the marine sciences, I designed another laboratory. I designed this laboratory that you see in these two pictures, with a circular section and a rectangular section on the waterfront in North Miami. And Congress appropriated $14.6 million for construction. So this is my second new laboratory, Miami. This is a picture of me and my wife together in Beijing. And I added this picture because I've been working with colleagues in China for the last 10 years. And they gave me a very nice reception. That acronym CAFS is Chinese Academy of Fisheries Sciences in Beijing. And this is their government fisheries agency. I'm very well connected in China. I have a lot of friends there. And now, you haven't seen my CV. If you get a chance to check it later, you'll see 6 or 7 publications where it's the authors are a group of Chinese colleagues and me, and I work together with these people quite a lot. I just got a new paper out with them about a week ago, and it's a very good group doing molecular science with fishes. I want to mention a little bit about tilapia because that's a very important fish for aquaculture, a very easy fish to grow, and a good source of nutrition for a lot of people in the world. And if you know about tilapia, you might recognize in this very old picture, there's a tilapia right above this guy's head. I just put the red circle around it. No question about the shape of that fish. That is a tilapia, and they've been growing them in Africa for over 3,000 years. This is from a review that I just wrote recently about tilapia production, and it's an extremely rapidly increasing growth curve of worldwide tilapia production, expanding very, very fast. And one of the reasons that tilapia production is so popular and so sustainable is that you don't need fish meal to grow tilapia. And a lot of people use fish meal, commercial pellets, but it's not necessary. This is from a paper that I wrote with my colleagues in the Philippines about feeding fish meal not every day, but every other day, so skipping a day. And this is now a very popular commercial method for producing tilapia. Feed fish meal and then no feed the next day, and then feed and then no feed. It cuts the cost of production in half and makes tilapia production much more profitable. And you can see the comparison of levels of cost. The feed cost goes down if you feed on alternate days. Labor is cheaper if you're only having somebody work on alternate days. And profits go up very sharply if they're fed on alternate days. This is being used by 70% of the commercial tilapia farmers in the Philippines now. They feed on plankton and they feed on algae. So these are renewable sources of food that are essentially free in a fertilized pond. And so these Nile tilapia are very efficient to grow because they don't require fish meal, which if you follow aquaculture at all, you know fish meal is very expensive and price is unpredictable. So it's a good way to escape from that problem. This is a figure about food security in Bangladesh. This shows how much fish are being eaten per person. And you can see in this graph, the increasing trend shows that there's more food available in Bangladesh in the last, well, this is a 10-year spread. And the reason that there's more food is because the green bar, which is freshwater aquaculture, largely tilapia, but also carps and some other fishes, that source has expanded. The other ones have gotten smaller or stayed about the same, but there's more food in Bangladesh because of aquaculture. This is a project I worked on in a very poor part of Bangladesh where we made sure that pregnant women got fish to eat every day. And there's a lot of malnutrition. A lot of babies are too small and unhealthy. In fact, it's over 40% of the babies in Bangladesh are, the word is stunted, or they're smaller than they should be. And in this project, the mothers, while they were pregnant, got fish every day. And the babies were also given fish chutney, which is fish and vegetables and onions. Very nutritious diet, and the babies were very strong and healthy. Everybody knows in this whole region they called these the healthy babies. They're extremely strong and very good energy, and they learn to speak earlier, and they're very clever and interesting little kids that were eating lots of fish from the time the mothers were pregnant. So now what I'm going to do is just close with a couple of thoughts. And I haven't really, how is my time? I have a few minutes left.
You have 6 minutes.
Okay, good. My timing is just about right then. Thank you. And what I'll do with these last 6 minutes, talk about what I'd like to do in Kenya and what we could do as a team in Kenya. So I think the most important things from my experience with Bangladesh, certainly improving nutrition for pregnant women. Because if women have babies that are too small and not healthy enough, these problems can last a lifetime. They don't do as well in school, they're not as productive later on in life as adults. They have more trouble learning. There are lots of problems when a baby is undernourished. So, and I think this is a good focus for work, especially in rural parts of East Africa, working on nutrition. The other thing, and I noticed after I sent a copy of my PowerPoint, but I've corrected. I had a spelling error here, but I guess I don't need to do that if this is the first time you've seen my PowerPoint. But the second figure is about the importance of growing fish that don't need fish meal. And that includes lots of carps, and catfishes and tilapia that can grow very well on algae and plankton, and they can be very nutritious when they're produced that way. But the point that I made in Philippines, excuse me, is that it's very, very cheap to produce human nutrition without using fish meal. And so this is my final figure for you. That I have already got a group assembled that's interested in working in East Africa together. At the top figure is a chief executive officer from a nonprofit foundation, the Global Health Education Foundation, that works in Africa quite a bit. He's a close friend of mine. He's been interested in having a new project with me as a leader and putting together a team to work in both Kenya and Bangladesh. And his connection in Kenya, I don't know if any of you know this organization or not. Does anybody know Global Connections Kenya? Anybody?
Global Connections?
Global Connections?
Nope.
I don't. I understand it's a relatively new organization that's looking to develop aquaculture for food production. So this Global Health Education Foundation and Global Connections Kenya would like to work together. And I understand that the Gates Foundation has expressed some interest in helping us develop our project plan. And of course, they're very capable of helping provide funding and support for it. And as I already mentioned to you, I have colleagues in China, and this is a very close friend of mine, Ting Bao Yang. I worked with him many times. He would like to work together with me and the other agencies on this page in developing aquaculture as an economically sustainable activity in East Africa. So this is the outline of a team that I have in mind for working in Kenya. Then I'll close with a couple of pictures. This is my wife. She is Chinese, and this is working in a training session. And training is how you do these nutrition interventions. You train people to understand human nutrition, to understand aquaculture, and she was very helpful with that. And incidentally, her family name is Yao, Y-A-O. And if you know about celebrities named Yao, maybe you recognize this guy. This is Yao Ming, the National Basketball Association All-Star. And that's the same family. She's Yao, he's Yao, in China. And he's also done some conservation work in Africa. Here he is with, is that African elephant or Indian? I think that's African elephant. Anyway, he's a family member in her family. But this is a little quick summary, and maybe you have a chance. You can maybe after the seminar you'll be given my CV. You can look at what kinds of things I've published. I think that's important. Fish physiology, biochemistry, molecular biology, but also food production in developing countries. So that's how my interests have changed over the years and grown into a different focus, and helping people in places where there are problems with human nutrition is a big motivation for me now. So that's probably a good point for me to close and to begin taking questions. I guess I'll leave PowerPoint on in case anybody has any question about the figures that I've shown. I could go back, or other questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Professor Brown. The way we are going to take the questions is that we'll take 3 questions at a go. We'll let you answer them, and then we move on. I want also to notify you that we are also connected to another location on campus. Should there be questions from that other site on campus where other students are, then we'll allow them to ask questions towards the tail end of the session. So,
okay, I think I saw a little video feed from that place at one point. Yes.
Yes, that is our auditorium.
Okay.
Now we are going to take the first 3 questions, and you may have to jot them down and then respond to them. Let me have the first 3. Yes? Your name first.
My name is Kalpa. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for the presentation. My question tones down much to School of Science and Technology. What is your vision and goal for the School of Science and Technology in USIU? In other words, how do you envision uniting peers to achieve your goal here? Thank you.
Okay.
Next question. Yes, your name?
My name is Adiala. I am from the School of Science. Thank you for your presentation. In your presentation, you mentioned some multidisciplinary collaborations. As a student of the School of Business, I wanted to know how you will implement multidisciplinary collaborations from the School of Science and other schools in USIU.
Okay.
Thank you. The third one.
Great presentation, Dr. Brown. My question is a bit different. There's a lot of entrepreneurship going on in the School of Science and Technology, and I wanted you to walk us through an instance in your life. We've really talked about you being an advisor, especially in Hawaii. So can you just walk us through an instance where you helped a student who's an entrepreneur and how you managed to do that, and what steps did you have to take to help this student?
Okay.
Let's take those 3 first.
Okay, let me start by saying thank you, because those are not terribly difficult questions for me to answer. I wasn't sure what kind of questions you might have, but I'm happy to answer all of these, and I think I have good answers and good examples for each case. So first, about a vision and goal for science and technology. Well, I see this is a very computer and communication oriented science and technology college, and also it has that development institute in it. So I can see this as a place for development activities, and actually this may blend an answer for both the first question and the second, because one of the things that I did at Florida International University, as I initiated and developed the marine science program, was to integrate marine science activities and marine science education with other departments, like English language, like journalism. I mentioned as I was giving my presentation, physics and other things. So it is best for science not to be isolated from all of the other disciplines, but integrated with them. And I found, for example, journalism, which is part of science and technology. I noticed in Miami that when the newspapers had a story about status of the oceans or some of the fisheries questions, they weren't very well informed in journalism. They didn't really understand the science very thoroughly. They would report on stories without really knowing the scientific basis for some of what they were talking about. And so I got together with the chairman of journalism and developed a new course in marine sciences for journalists. And it provided a strong basis and a good, healthy background in marine science for newspaper people, television reporters, and others to have a good grasp on what's changing environmentally and in fisheries. So my vision and goal, I would say it is important to involve a lot of people in different disciplines in the growth of within science and technology. It's key, I think, for the academic standard to continually improve, for stronger students being a very competitive unit to attract good students, and for students to do work that's got a strong impact. And I think bringing projects like the kind of projects I was talking about, development projects, nutrition projects, food production, that provides an excellent source of material for students to participate as interns, to study, to write a dissertation, to do to contribute a small unit. So I think that's my vision, is to bring in projects that are good material for students, and also coming back to the second question, to do that in a multidisciplinary way. And I mentioned during my little seminar, for example, human nutrition is an important part of this, and that's a separate college. That you have a health and I've forgotten the name of your college for that, but it's separate from science and technology. So I would be interested in integrating the activities of different colleges together toward upgrading the academic standard and the productivity of everyone around the university. So I think maybe I'll move on to the question number 3, entrepreneurship and advisory work. I have advised, and I think the number is 20 or 21, mostly doctoral students, some master's degree students, some postdoctoral, but I've had a lot of students working on grants that I've been the principal investigator on. And so my role has been their advisor to help them develop a master's thesis, a doctoral dissertation, or for the postdocs to publish a lot. And yes, I've done this many times, and I was asked for an example, so I'll give you one example. I was in University of Hawaii, and my group had just published some material that got people very excited about breeding some difficult fishes, and it was shown on television that night. Some of the fish we were breeding were expensive ornamental reef fish that had never been raised in captivity before, so the newspapers made a big story and the TV people got very excited. So the next day, someone came knocking at my door and said he saw this show on TV and wanted to do a graduate program with me. And I at first I told him, that's very nice, thank you, but I have enough students already, and I can't really support any more. I have 6 doctoral students. And he said, no, I don't need any support. I can support myself very well. So this guy, his name is Frank Bench, born in Germany, and he came to Hawaii and stayed and still there. He's a businessman there now. But he came and did his master's degree work with me in animal sciences, and I had two different colleges I was working with. So that's another example of multidisciplinary things. I had doctoral students in the marine sciences and also in the College of Agriculture. So I think it's important to be involved in multidisciplinary ways. But this guy, Frank Bench, came and did his master's work on fish culture systems, on recirculating systems for marine fish culture. Did an excellent master's degree. But what he did with this fish culture systems work was he like me and some of my other students, he liked to breed fish that had not been raised in captivity before, and he's always been good at raising very challenging fishes. So Frank Bench started breeding some unusual reef fish. These were, he's mostly known for breeding what are called pygmy angelfishes, which are very small. They're very small, beautiful angelfishes in the saltwater environment. And he's raised many species of those that nobody reared before. And what he typically does is he will get a few very rare angelfishes and raise them and breed them, and then he sells them in Japan for very high prices. So he's established a very strong business. It's not easy to make a living by breeding difficult fish that way, but he's quite talented, and we've stayed in touch. I left Hawaii a long time ago, but we've been friends, and I have remained friends with many of my former students, including Frank, who has a very healthy and growing business in Hawaii. So that's one example of an entrepreneurship that I helped to foster along.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to ask you. Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hear us?
Yes.
Yeah, for the sake of time, I don't know whether we could move on to the next set of questions so that we can allow the other off-site students to ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take two questions from this side, and I'll ask Professor Katuse, who is on the other side, to prepare 3 questions. Immediately after you answer the questions from this side, then we'll be connected to the other side for the next 3 questions. So Professor Katuse, also be prepared for that, please. Yeah, so first 2 questions. Yeah, I'm coming here and right there. Come.
Hi, Dr. Brown. Okay, my name is Pratik. I wanted to. You have a lot of background in.
We're getting some feedback.
Yeah, there's some feedback. Okay, now go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Brown. Hi, my name is Pratik. You talked a lot about you have a lot of knowledge in aquaculture. You have done a lot for the fisheries and all that. But I wanted to come to us. I wanted to come down to us and say that you see we are mostly based in science and technology. Our culture in here in USIU for major is mostly computer science and journalism. I wanted to ask, what would you do, or what is what is your idea for us as USIU for our technology base? Because we will look currently we only have computer science and journalism, and I won't be surprised if you bring marine biology as another major in USIU. But I wanted to know that what is your idea, what is your vision for us as a School of Science and Technology according to computer science and journalism as we are right now? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, next question.
Okay.
Just let's take two others and then right there.
Okay, hi, Dr. Brown. My name is Kevin, and my question is actually about your field. You said that mostly, pretty much from your CV, you are in marine biology and fisheries and such stuff. Yeah, and now here actually, being that we mostly work with computer science and journalism and such stuff, like perhaps can you elaborate to us how would you actually go about like integrating what you're doing in IT and computer science with actually marine biology, and how they can like actually go together so that we can maybe like augment our computer science beyond only maybe working with, I don't know, coding of such applications, such stuff, to actually putting it into marine biology, molecular biology, as you're saying, and fisheries around the world and maybe such places. And also on that one, you say you being at a place which is actually far away from like some lakes and oceans in Kenya. How will you actually go about it? What's like the feasibility of you like actually getting students from USIU working with like maybe fisheries which are like maybe around Lake Victoria or even Indian Ocean?
Okay, the last one.
I'd like to thank you for your presentation first, and my question is somehow related to theirs, and it covers the aspect of food security that you spoke about. And most of us here are technology majors, and we'd like to know about how we can plug in what we learn in class in technology to help Kenya or East Africa achieve food security. And specifically, have you had any instances where you've worked with technology as well as food security? So you can tell us about it, and we can find out about the feasibility of it.
Thank you. Let's take those three first, and then after answering those, and kindly be brief so that we can have time for the other side also.
Okay, and let me tell you, there was some interference in the transmission of the second question. I had a little trouble hearing and understanding the last part of that. I think I got the main idea, but perhaps you could summarize that question again. It's about the integration of computer science and technology with the marine sciences and molecular sciences, and I can address that. In fact, the first two questions were very similar, so I may just answer them together, but I wonder if I missed something in that second question.
Yeah, yes, okay, the part like two of the second question was this. USIU is actually inland, away from any like major lake or even the Indian Ocean. So how do you actually go about the feasibility of getting USIU students who are in IT working with fisheries and such stuff?
Okay, I missed the inland part of the question. Yes, and that's fine. I can answer these three questions now. Okay. Let me tell you a little something about myself that's not in my CV. My father was a science teacher, and my mother worked for a newspaper. So I come from a family of journalists. My sister is a journalist, and it's an important part of the way that I was raised was to view the not just generating information in the laboratory, but sharing information in a public sense. And I already have mentioned in the first three questions and in my seminar that I developed a program to integrate journalism with marine sciences. So, and that was a very successful thing, and it was about teaching journalists to understand the marine sciences. So I have this orientation of presenting science. And my feeling is that science is of very little value unless it's communicated very well. So, and of course, that's a matter of computer and journalistic communications largely. So let me give you an example that I think certainly is good for the first question, and in some ways also the third question. It's relevant to that. I noticed in the Philippines that work that we did that was getting published in good, strong international scientific journals was not really reaching the farmers. And the farmers in the Philippines don't read those international science journals. They don't go online and search international journals or go to the university and look at these fisheries and aquaculture journals that are coming out. And so one of the things that I started to do was to develop the essence of the work that we were doing. For example, growing tilapia without using so much fish meal. And I made that into podcasts. And I think that's an important part of the use of available technology to reach people effectively, because in the Philippines, and this was also true in Bangladesh, a lot of people have smartphones. A lot of people have access to the internet, and it was very easy to build a podcast and distribute with a flash drive, and the farmers would pass these around. It would teach them different feeding technology, hatchery work, and so if you have a chance, and you look in my CV, you can find 6 podcasts that I produced. So I like to use alternative ways of distributing information, and I still love very much publishing in good international journals. I'm an editor of one of them, but I like also getting information to farmers and end users and human nutrition information to hungry people by alternative means. So we would have training sessions. In fact, I'm still sharing this session with all these women in Bangladesh. Was a training session, training them about human nutrition. So training is a good example of something that's done with computer science, it involves journalists who can come out and spread information like this. And what we would do in South Asia was not only train groups of people in rural areas, but we would train the trainees. In other words, we would get a group of 20 people together and teach them how to teach others about human nutrition. So training of trainers is a way to amplify the spread of information with often with online materials that can be updated and expanded, and especially podcasts. So I think it's that's a good example of taking an innovative approach to the spread of information. Oh, and then the last thing that I need to address is about working with inland populations and people and fisheries and so on, because I have in both Hawaii and Florida a strong marine component, but also the whole time that I was doing that work as a marine science professor in both of the places where I've been a tenured professor, at that time I was working in the Philippines, and that was all inland. That was all freshwater culture in ponds. And so all of this material that I was presenting about...
Your sound.
Oh, you lost my...
We can't hear you.
You can't hear. Okay. Can you hear now? No? How about now? Can you hear? No? Still no sound. Can you hear now? No? My sound is on. Still no sound. No sound. Can you show again? I didn't see that. I will disconnect and reconnect.
Recording is on.
How about now? Any sound? Sound? No? No sound. You got a technical problem. Cannot hear. Okay.
Hapo unaweza nisikia? Can you hear me, Mike? From the room system, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Sound? No sound.
Hello?
I hear sound. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ah, good.
Okay, this is auditorium, another section of in the university. We have two questions for you. And just come. Say your name and ask the question.
Hello, Prof.
Share screen, okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jackton, and I'm from the School of Science and Technology. I've heard your presentations on aquaculture. I don't know if you've ever done any research regarding the effects of water hyacinth in Lake Victoria, being that it's one of the largest lakes that produces tilapia. That was my question.
Okay, and is there also a second question?
Okay, hi. My name is Samuel from the School of Science. I wanted to know maybe some of the strategies that you will bring to the university regarding the courses like the majors like computer science and journalism, on how maybe we can empower the world, making sure that the projects that we do here in school might influence the world, and also how we can maybe improve on the entrepreneurship in the university and get better jobs in the market.
Okay. All right. Shall I answer or the additional question? Another question? I think, are you ready for me to answer those questions? Yes? And I don't know if the other guys can still hear me or not. Do you hear me okay? Is the sound okay now?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, okay. Then let me jump into these questions while I have a chance. I don't think you heard me in the last group of questions answering about working inland.
Yes. And if you can take about half a minute on that.
You can't hear us. We muted for feedback.
But?
We muted to prevent feedback. He's answering questions the others have asked.
Oh.
So that we don't cause the.
Oh, they have asked.
They've already asked.
Okay.
You need to communicate.
If you can hear me, I will give you some answers, okay?
All right, all right.
Okay. So let me point out that 15 years of work in the Philippines was all inland freshwater lakes and ponds work. And much of what I've been doing has been in that environment. So I think that's fully applicable to East Africa. And I was going to go on about that, but I think we're maybe short of time. So let me go to the last couple of questions. And first of all, I'll say, no, I have not worked on water hyacinth and Lake Victoria, although I have a very good friend, Dr. Les Kaufman in Boston, who has worked on Lake Victoria and production activities there. He's very familiar with that, but I am not. And then in terms of strategies for computer science, let me say our loss of the audio is a good example of how computer science has to back up other sciences. And when we just wasted about 10 or 15 minutes because of a technical problem. I don't know what happened, but I had to log out and log back in 3 times to get sound. So there is a definite need for computer science to be consistent, creative, innovative, and functional. And we've had an example tonight of a time when it wasn't so functional. So that's a technical issue that there's a need for improvement. In terms of what I would bring and how that could contribute to entrepreneurship and jobs, let me say that the kind of work that I've been doing, and the work in Bangladesh is a good example. When you start feeding people that don't have nutrient-dense foods, and fishes are very nutrient-dense. They have a lot of micronutrients that are important, and I've emphasized very clearly their importance to developing fetuses. That's a critically important time to have good nutrition. And that's not just something that's done by a scientist in a laboratory, but that's in rural areas interacting with people. So a lot of that is dependent on the spread of accurate information. So the kind of work that I do in the development area is dependent on good communication, on the use of computers and internet sources of information, on workshops, on podcasts, on news stories, and on helping people understand how to help themselves nutritionally. It's no good if people don't want to eat fish, for example. And I know that this was a problem we ran into in Bangladesh, was that some people believe that fish are very unhealthy for small children. And in fact, small children need fish more than anyone else because they're developing and they need that kind of nutrition. So it's not just the nutritional science that's important, but it's the spread of information. So that's how I envision integrating the parts of science and technology with the work that I do, because it's very dependent on communication. And so I see it as all fitting together and providing good material for journalists and computer scientists, and to develop that strength as a means of disseminating information. And also, if you recall what I said in the end of my little seminar, that the Gates Foundation is interested not only in a project in Kenya, but they're talking to us about a parallel project that would be in both Kenya and Bangladesh. And we wish to work together and coordinate internationally and through various regions of the world, East Africa, South Asia, 2 very hungry areas. So that could be an opportunity for computer and journalistic people to work together to spread the information about what we're doing. So I think that's a good answer for that question.
Thank you very much. Now we have to bring it to a close because of time and transit to the next station. It has been very good to meet you, and we hope that we'll be interacting some more. Thank you very much, Professor Brown.
Thanks so much, and thank you for your good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.